Hi there, my name is Kendrick, and welcome to another ENFP male interview. Today I get to interview Candice. So Candice, welcome.
Hello, hi Kendrick. How are you?
Good, good. It's good to have you. So Candice, can you tell us your full type, please?
Yes, I am a double feminine, SETE, play, blast, sleep, consume. So that makes me an ESFP jumper.
All right, sweet. And you are like a very unique ESFP, like a very rare one. You are like consume last ESFP. What did you think and how did you feel when you got your results back?
I mean, it was weird because, prior to getting into objective personality, I was always into Myers-Briggs. And in Myers-Briggs, I was always INFP. I'm like also trained and certified in Myers-Briggs, but that's like a totally different story. Like, I don't know, coming from like a consume last, now I'm kind of like, oh, like, did I really understand all of it? Or was I just in it just to understand myself? I don't know. But yeah, it's been really weird. When I found out my official type, it was traumatic. I couldn't believe it. I was like, what? I'm an ESFP? So yeah, very weird. It took me a long while to process it.
I think the ESFP's reaction to getting officially typed is the funniest. It's like they're always in shock, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So now that you're officially typed, you first of all, I think you thought you were an INFP at first. So INFP is like the extreme self above tribe, but turns out you are tribe above self. So how do you relate with that, like doing things for other people as opposed to yourself first?
That was a hard one to accept for me because I don't know, maybe because I'm single activated masculine I always like thought I was like, oh, like, I'm so rebellious, I'm so different, like I'm so unique, right? That's like the story. But the more I started to, just watch the videos and process everything, I kind of realized like, oh damn, I do like listen to others and put others before myself. And I think that also like it builds up resentment in my masculine I think, and then I'll always like snap back or do something. So it's a weird balance.
Can you talk about the feeling of resentment that gets built up?
Yeah, so I don't know. A good example is when I was in high school, I went to a private school in Hawaii, and it's like super strict, right? Like dress code, everything. And I hate rules and I hate structure and all of that. So even like back then, I was like I was dyeing my hair, I was getting facial piercings, and like that stuff is like totally not allowed. But I would just cover it with a band-aid, like do stuff like that. I'm sure kids do that stuff all the time now, but like back then for me, like it was kind of like, it was pretty rebellious. And like I grew up in a very like religious household. So my parents were so pissed off that I had like piercings and I don't know, it was just always stuff like that, or like skipping class, or like doing things I shouldn't be doing, but like I just felt that need to rebel, I guess.
Sounds like you're an EP for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so you're Japanese, right? So I can't imagine you living in Japan where it's even more strict and even more like rule bound. How have you ever gone there and experienced that culture?
Yeah, so I've never like full-time lived there. Like I went every summer as a kid to visit family. I went all the time like for work and stuff like that. But yeah, it's kind of interesting because when you're there, like the DE-ness is the standard of society, right? You're super respectful to everyone. So I can play along with that really easily. But then I also kind of feel like I have a maybe like a slight advantage in that if something is hitting my masculine I can just say like, oh no, fuck all of you, I'm gonna do it this way, or you know what I mean? It's like it's a slight middle finger that I don't consider bad. I consider it kind of like an advantage, I guess.
Yeah. I have a friend, she's Japanese, and she was born and raised in Japan, but then she lived in Canada for 10 years. And then when she went back to work there, her boss were trying to tell her what to do. And she's like, no. And then all and then, and then all they said, they didn't really get mad at her because they just said, oh, you know what? She's westernized, so it's okay. So
Yeah, yeah.
do you feel like you kind of get away with like that like middle finger fuck you because like you are like American and you are
Oh,
westernized?
yes. And that's like the thing. Like if you're a foreigner and you're going into Japan, like I feel like it's almost an advantage because they'll just say, oh, they're just a foreigner. They don't understand like
Yeah,
customs and all that stuff. So yeah, for
yeah.
sure.
Gotcha. And you're also a double decider, so I guess you could wiggle your way out of anything like people problem related things. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. And like it's funny because like, you know, you do it your whole life and then you're made aware of it. Like, oh, like this term called double decider exists, right? And then you start kind of analyzing. But yeah, I would do it so much that it almost got me in trouble because like, you know, friends and stuff, they would be like, oh, why are you defending this person? Or why can't you take my side? And it's like, because like I can see everyone's perspectives and you guys are coming at it from different ways and I totally understand both perspectives. So how can I take sides? You're just like misunderstanding each other. And that, yeah, totally.
Because you're also tribe above self, Dave said that everyone that's tribe above self has this weird ability, kind of like he calls it like Professor X syndrome, where like, you know, with the cerebral, where like he's connected with everyone's minds. So when someone is suffering around you or someone's feeling bad, you know, even though you don't have FE, you still know. Now you might not copy their facial expression, but you can still feel it. Do you agree with that sentiment?
Yeah, for sure. And maybe this has to do with my like feminine SE too, but like I definitely pick up on like maybe it's chemicals. It's not necessarily emotion or vibes. It's like I can tell when someone is like really having a bad day or really irritated or you know anything like that. I pick up on it, and if I'm not careful, like I start feeling like, oh God, like you know because I'm DE, like did I do something? Like what's wrong? Like I start freaking out. So yeah, I think I pick up on things maybe chemically. I could be making that up. I don't know.
So like when someone's feeling bad, you feel like maybe it's your fault, or partially it's your fault, perhaps? Like it's that thought kind of comes in your mind, or?
Yeah, I think it depends on the type of day I'm having. Like when I was much younger, I was a lot more like, I don't know, insecure and like just like always thinking about like just self-conscious, I guess, right? So whenever something did happen, it was immediately, oh God, what did I do? Like what did I do? Like it must be my fault, like for sure. But I think as I've gotten older, like I don't know, maybe it just comes with age, but you just kind of get tired of people's bullshit and you kind of think, like it's your problem.
Yeah.
So I'm finally like getting to that stage in life, which is kind of nice.
Gotcha. Well, I can relate to your story because I do feel that too, like when I was younger. But more from like an EP perspective, it's more like if my boss is like, hey, Kendrick, I need to talk to you. I'm like, oh shit, did I do something? Did I
Yeah.
break some rules or something? You know, like,
Yeah. It's freaking scary. I hate that.
yeah. Yeah. Like I don't think of that I'm being an asshole. So it's not like an FI thing. It's more like an OE thing where like, did I break some rules? Because I am like a rule breaker. Sometimes I don't even think about it. It just happens, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally get it. It's like a million different reasons, right? Like, oh God.
Yeah. Okay, so since you mentioned reasons, you are Savior ST, so you're a block banger, as what they define it. So you're like a doer, essentially. So you get things done. It's interesting though, because your play, which is your first animal, is double feminine. So double feminine ST play. How do you relate with double feminine ST play, and how do you personally experience it?
Okay, that's a good question. Like I've been kind of pondering that, and because they're my saviors, and because I'm so like passive with it, I actually like don't even really know how to describe it because it's like it's all that I know, you know? Okay, maybe this is one of those situations where can you ask me like a more specific question?
Oh, sure. Okay, so ST means it's like physically getting something
Yeah.
created or done in real life. So because it's play, it means you like to do work with people.
Yeah.
And I'll give you a concrete example. Like let's say you are setting up for an event, then with SD Play, then you would be helping, putting up the decorations, the tables, the seats, the refreshments and stuff. And you're doing it with a tribe. So this is just one example, obviously, but like do you like doing this kind of collaborative work with people? And you're double feminine, so you're gonna be very flexible with it too.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So thank you for laying that out. Yeah, I guess in my experience, like I went to school for marketing and entrepreneurship, and my dad is a serial entrepreneur. So I guess like maybe entrepreneurship is very like ST, like in that realm of like, creating something in the physical world. And so since graduating, I've started like a few ventures. most of them have been with my husband. In Myers-Briggs, he's an INTJ. I want to guess that he's NIFI. Of course, like I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure that's what he is. But we make a pretty good team because he's all about like control and like finances and structure and all of that. So yeah, we started a few ventures, and like one really hit it off, and we sold it in 2016. And yeah, I feel like I'm always wanting to do that, like entrepreneurial, like, okay, what's next? What's next? What can I do? What can I do? And even right now, I am helping out my family's business, and just like wearing many hats and doing like everything. So yeah, I enjoy that, and I like the variety of doing it.
So you're like the jack of all trades, like you can do a little bit of everything and you enjoy it.
Yeah, and it's weird because in one of Dave and Shan's recent videos about SETE strengths, like they said, oh, you guys can just kind of like pick something up and like be naturally good at it, but like because it's your natural state, you kind of think, well, yeah, like and that's the case for me too. It's like, well, why wouldn't anyone just kind of figure it out? But I guess because it's like my savior state, I don't really appreciate it as much as I should maybe.
Yeah, and then you said that your husband might be like a jumper INTJ, which in your case I think might be accurate because EPs and IJs tend to like date, you know. So like my girlfriend's an INTJ jumper, so it's like, oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Like when she got typed, I was like, oh my god, I'm in like a stereotypical ENFP INTJ
but
relationship.
it works though.
Oh yeah, we've been together for 8 years, so we're like, okay, clearly it works. So yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. All right, cool. So let's cover the functions of the ST play. Let's go with the feminine SE. So because it's feminine, do you have a bad memory when it comes to like facts and details?
Oh God, yeah. It's so bad. And so I've always been, you know, that stereotype of like I'm forgetful, like I don't know what's going on. I don't know, like I'm really bad at like geographical placement, spatial awareness, numbers, addresses, stuff like that. And so, you know, like even as a kid, I would forget tickets to things and show up at events, or, you know, just I'm just so bad at like memory and remembering to do things or just recalling anything. So I was finally like diagnosed with ADD at like in my 20s, and like it just made so much sense. But yeah, it's still an ongoing struggle.
I think most EPs have ADD, especially the play blast. So it makes,
Yeah.
yeah.
What about
Uh,
for you? You're also play blast, right?
yeah, I'm the same as you. I'm a crackhead play blast EP, but I don't think I've ever been diagnosed with ADD, but I've never asked. But I do have. I was very bad in school just because I couldn't focus. You know,
Oh my God.
like my attention was like everywhere except for
Yeah.
the schoolwork itself. So,
Yeah.
um, like I barely got a diploma. You know, so but it is what it is. You know. Okay, let's cover the next part of your function. You have, oh, before we jump in, I want to ask you one more thing about feminine SE. So, because you're feminine SE, do you find that like material things are not personal to you? Like if you lose something, it's like, yeah, whatever. You know, it's like, it's not the end of the world. Like you don't get like attached to objects.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like that whole like object impermanent object permanence or whatever you call it, where for me it's like out of sight, out of mind. So I don't even know what I own, you know, until I rediscover it. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize I had this, you know. So yeah, I don't really form too much of an attachment to things. Like if I lose it, then it's oh well, because I'm so used to that. I'm so used to just losing things, like in my past, like phones, wallets, like stuff like that too. I would just lose it. But if it's something that if I really, really value and treasure, then I'm like heartbroken that I lost it.
Gotcha. Okay, let's go with your TE next. Your TE is feminine.
Mhm.
So how do you feel having feminine TE? Do you feel like you're very flexible with people? Like you kind of just like let people, do you feel like people run you over sometimes? Like, you know, because they're, you know, with their masculine
Yeah.
TE?
Yes, yes. I think this is the function that I want to say I struggle with like the most in everyday life, because you know, I'm running my family's business now, and I have to like be direct and assertive and tell people what to do, but it's so hard for me because I'm just way too flexible and open. So yeah, I have a hard time telling other people what to do. I have a hard time like pushing back and telling people like no. Yeah, just way too flexible.
But do you see any positives to it? Because you are flexible, so there must have like some pros to it.
Yeah, I guess like for me, I just see so much of the frustration and the negatives, but maybe for positives, like I am, like pretty agreeable with the tribe, and and so I'm willing to do like the whole teamwork. Let's do this collaboratively. Like I'm totally down with that.
So I guess you diffuse a lot of tension and conflict because of the feminine T. So that's like the pro. It's like instead of butting heads, it's just like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, definitely. I don't really butt heads with anyone. I hate conflict for sure.
But do you feel like you get resentful in the back end, like when you go home and stuff, and then you're like, oh my God, I should have not like let them get away with that. I should speak
Oh,
up.
for sure. Like all the time, all the time. And I think that's like, it's like a glaring issue in my life right now because of like business and having to work with people. And every day I go home and I'm like, fuck, why did I say, yeah, cool. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, no worries. Like, and that's not really how I feel. So it helps to go home and talk it out with with my NI-FI husband, I guess. He helps me to build my DI, I guess.
Have you ever snapped at someone? Where like that masculine FI finally came out. You're like, you know what? Fuck this. I can't take this anymore. I'm just gonna say what I want to say.
Yeah, I mean, like many times in life. And I feel like when I do snap with my masculine FI, it's bad. It's like a point of no return kind of thing. Like, and in the moment, I have no control over it, and it just like comes out, and I regret it so much later. But like, I have no control over it. And yeah, like, so one of my more recent ones that it came out. So there we have this like employee, and like he thinks he's the shit, right? And like one of the top bartenders, whatever. And every time I would come around, me and my family, like because we own the place, he would just have so much fucking attitude, right? For no reason. And we would go up to him like, hey, how's it going? How's tonight going? How are the guests? And like he would just give so much attitude, like not even make eye contact, like whatever. And then one night I made the mistake of having drank like 2 or 3 beers before like going in, and he like gave me like attitude, and I completely snapped at him, and it was so bad that it caused like a whole HR thing, and like I'm so embarrassed that it even happened. Like I should have been professional, like, but whatever. That's like, I think that's like, demon masculine FI. It's like I have no control over it.
What did you say to him, if you don't mind me asking?
Ah, okay. So like he gave me all this attitude and like, I don't know, said some snarky comments. And then so at first I like left. And then I thought about it some more, and I was like fuming. So I went back in and I was like, hey, can I talk to you? And I actually like pulled him aside, and I was like, so like, like whenever we come in, like who do you think that we are? Like, and he's like, oh, well, your dad's the owner. And I was like, okay, right. So like, if you know that, then why are you always so mean to us? Like, we're nothing but nice to you. And like, I don't understand like why you have to make such a negative place. And like, I don't know, I went off and I said like, you're on thin ice. And I probably said things along the lines of like, no one likes you. Like, I don't know if I said that actually, but it was like that. Yeah.
And how did he take it?
Huh?
How did he take it? How did he react to you? Was he shocked?
He was shocked. He was shocked. And I just kept going. Yeah. And then I didn't even give him a chance to say anything. I just like left in a huff. And then of course, like my demon and I should have seen that it was going to create gossip within the company, that he was going to go to HR. Like, of course, I didn't see any of that. So I was pretty embarrassed about it for a long time.
So we'll come back to this again later, because I think what you did was the perfect example of being energy dominant also. Yeah, because if you watch Dave, he talks about the difference between energy dominant, info dominant, and there's pros and cons to each type, of course. So energy dominant are better at taking care of their health, while info dominant, it's more comfortable to talk to them. That's what he said. Like one time I talked to him on the phone, and he said, oh yeah, it's easy to talk to you because you're like info dominant, but he said when he talks to other energy dominant, they're just like taking turns talking to each other, and then it's not like a back and forth conversation. So I feel like when you blew up on that guy and you didn't give him a chance to talk to you, it's like, you know what? It's like you got out all the pent up frustration, and then you're like, block. Nope, this is not gonna be a two-way conversation. Fuck you, I'm out. Like you put a hard boundary right away, and then you left. Well, and we'll cover that when we get to the NF, your NF sleep, because
Okay.
that sounds like that's what you did. You know what? Since we're already here, why don't we just talk about it? Okay, let's go with NF sleep. Okay, so you blew up on this guy. It's very aggressive because it makes sense. You have double masculine NF sleep, so inside you're extremely aggressive. um, and Sleep is also correlated with setting boundaries with people. So you have it third, so that means you do know how to do it. It comes later, maybe in explosive ways, like kind of how you just explained. Um, can you talk about like what made you decide to just like block and there's no more conversation afterwards?
When I get to that point, like it's hard to describe, but like I'm just so bewildered and like completely just like speechless that when it does come out like that, it's so I think it's really unexpected for everybody because I'm so chill on the outside. So when I do something like that, I think everyone's just like, whoa, what the fuck, you know? But sorry, what was your question?
No, I was just asking how you set boundaries with people in general.
Oh, boundaries. Yeah, I think that's a problem that I have is that I don't really set boundaries and I'm just so like agreeable and fluid that like I just let people do what they want because I don't really have a problem with it until you know that resentment builds and then boom, right? So yeah, it's an issue for me.
Since you're aware that this is happening to you, and it's like your pattern, you know, your NI pattern, right? And because you do have sleep third, so the fact that you are aware of it goes to show that you do have sleep activated. Because you do see that emotion bubbling up and like building up inside, and it does blow up. So it does come out. You do set the boundaries, but you do it in demon state. It's not like you do it on purpose. Have you thought about like letting it out little by little instead of like, you know, it's like I feel like the best way to describe what you just said earlier is like you're like a can of pop that someone just shook too much, and then then you just boom blow on their face, right? So,
Yeah.
but you know, if you have like a bottle of like you know, pop, right, or you guys call it soda in the US, but like you know, if you guys like if you let's say you have like a big bottle, like a 2 liter, and then you open it a little bit and it goes, and then if you close it, it doesn't like blow up. So have you ever thought of like doing that little by little, like with your like pent up aggression, instead of like a big explosive fuck you in the face, you know, kick you in the balls? It's like, you know, like little by little, like.
First of all, I love that analogy of the in the bottle. That's so funny. But like in theory, that sounds great, right? But it's like I have no idea how to do that, and I think it's because my masculine FI is like single activated. Like I don't know how to like get more control over it. The way that I control it is to really just like grit my teeth and like leave the situation so that I don't do anything stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at in that journey.
Okay, so I can relate to you a lot because I'm the same as you. I'm double feminine play and double masculine sleep. So I like whatever you're describing happens to me too. And maybe even worse because I'm sleep last. Um, so for me to improve on this, I started actually with my girlfriend. So I don't know if you practice with your husband, but like when me and my girlfriend are having issues, like what I learned, like as early as when we first started dating, was like the moment I feel something is wrong, I need to talk to my girlfriend right away. Like I don't, it cannot get to the point where we're like screaming at each other. So it's gonna be a hard talk, but it needs to be said, and my feelings need to be heard. And usually the interesting thing when I do that is that my girlfriend also speak up. She's blast last, right? So she finally also speaks up about stuff that I did that also offended her. And then now we have an open conversation, which is great, right? And then we can like talk about it. And I think like for me and my girlfriend, we always talk about like the best thing about our relationship is the foundation that we built at the very start, which is open communication. Like when something bad happens, we gotta talk about it right away, even if we're gonna put the relationship on the line. It's gotta be done. And we did break up a few times, but we've always come back within like a week, or the worst is a month. You know, just because we always talk, and I think talking makes the world, you know, better.
Yeah.
So, but that's just with her, right? So I still have issues with other people because um, so like for you, like you blew up on that dude, right? So for me, I blew up on some of my friends that I've known since I was a kid, and And some of them I cut off permanently, and some of them I regretted after I blew up on them. Like later on, I came back and I fixed the relationship, and we're good. Double decider superpower, you know. But sometimes when I did break a relationship, I felt better after, and I'm like, you know what? There's no point fixing this. That is like a done.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
a good one. Um, so even recently, like I'm having problems with like some of my family members. So for me, it's like the biggest thing I've learned now is like as like a DEEP, it's like um, first time someone hurts me, it's shame on you. But if someone hurts me twice, it's shame on me because I should have known better that this is like a
Yeah.
pattern, you know. And I need to like speak up about it, even though I'm like double feminine with the tribe. So so that's kind of like I've been doing. It's not easy, by the way. It's super hard. Like for me to talk to my sister, for example, like if she's done something to hurt my feelings, she's younger than me, so I obviously, as an older brother, I have like a little bit of that feeling where like, how can my little sister be like trying to talk down to me, But then for me now, it's like, nope, I gotta be the bigger person, and I just need to talk to her. And then and if she doesn't want to talk, hey, guess what? I don't see you for a year or two, And now she's scared because like I know what she wants. She wants me to walk her down the aisle when she gets married because our father passed away a few years ago. And I'm like, okay, well, so better communicate, otherwise no one's gonna walk me down the aisle.
And like I don't know about you, but like just those serious conversations are so hard. Like once in a while I can do it in my savior state, which is SETE, and be super calm about it. But as soon as it like hits my FI, it's like I can't share those feelings because it's just so weird and awkward and painful. Like, do you feel like that too?
Yeah, no, it's super awkward. It's super painful. I don't want to do it. It's very private. But I think as I got older, I realized that I do need to share those feelings. And it's like using your FI also, it's kind of like, for me, it's like, you know what, Kendrick, who cares what they think of you? After you share your FI, if they think you're cringy or you're saying something that's inappropriate, you know what? That's on them because I got it out and I feel better. So that's not my problem anymore, So, like I know with like, I don't know if you have any FE relatives, which you probably do, but for them, it's always like, hey, let's keep the peace. No need to fight. Let's just like, put the problem under the rug and pretend let's just smile and pretend nothing's wrong with the family when there clearly there is, and someone needs to say it. And so for me, I'm like, you know what, I'll be the bad guy. I have no problem being the bad guy. I'll just be the bad guy. I'll just say it. Like I have a cousin. She's super religious, like super Christian. And then I told her, I'm not Christian anymore. Like I don't believe in the church, And then like no one wants to say it to her because I'm not the only one that stopped being religious, But everyone's pretending that they are. But I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna be that guy. I'm just gonna say how I feel. I'm like, you know what? I don't believe it. I don't like it. If you like it, that's fine. I respect that. I'm not gonna tell you otherwise.
Yeah.
So
wait, that's interesting. So were you like were you brought up religious and then you reached a point where you decided I'm no longer religious, or?
Yeah, no, I grew up Catholic. I was born and raised Catholic until I was like, I think I stopped following it sometime in my mid-20s. Like it wasn't like a gradual, like I just stopped. It just faded. It's more like kind of like Thanos when he snapped his finger. Like it's more like it's kind of like I started fading, and then eventually I'm like, I don't believe it anymore. And then I just told people, I'm like, no, I don't believe it. It's fine, but that's just my belief. But they're trying to convert me back now, which is kind of annoying. But at least it's out. At least it's out. It's like I feel like bad feelings. It's like have you read Brene Brown's books? I mean,
yes, they're so good.
Like which one did you like the most? Like the Gifts of Imperfection or Daring Greatly, or which one did you?
I liked the Gifts of Imperfection, and I'm reading like Dare to Lead or something like that right now. Yeah, they're all so good.
Right. So I don't know if you remember, but Brene Brown said that those shameful feelings that you have or bad feelings, they can only control you if you keep them in the dark. But the moment you shine your flashlight into them, they have no more control over you. So that's like when I learned about that from her book, I was like, you know what? Anything bad that I have that I'm hiding, I gotta put them in the limelight because then they have no control over me if I have them out, So I'm not perfect. I'm like obviously I haven't let all my like let all the bad feelings out, but I'm doing that instead of like boom, like, because it's dangerous. When the boom happens, it's dangerous. So I'm like, I don't want.
Yes.
Yeah, and I also feel like I'm an adult and I need to do adult things. And being an adult means you don't blow up on people.
Yeah.
Being an adult is like you communicate even though it's hard. And if they don't reciprocate, that conversation, it means I need to stay away from that person. So because at least I tried, I put the effort in. And if I tried and it didn't work out, hey, guess what? I did my best and time to move on. Right.
Yeah.
So okay, that's cool. Let's go back to your play and then we'll go back to sleep, because like it seems like you have a lot of like decider issues, which I can relate as well. So play is a decider animal. So we both have decider animals first. Which would make sense why we have decider issues. When you have play first, you have this like feeling that you want to connect with others. Like you just need to connect. When you meet, there's like a room full of people, you just want to connect with some people there. How do you feel about like that automatic urge that you need to connect with someone? And then have you gotten burnt as a result of like that urge to connect with people?
So this is interesting because when I learned that I was a play, it was really confusing to me because I know like everybody says this, but like I am actually really shy and quiet. I think it's because we're talking about like personality typing that I'm kind of like, oh, like I love this, I love this, so I want to talk. But yeah, ever since I was a kid, I was super shy, never like spoke up in class, never initiated making friendships. I still really don't. And I think like friendships to me are just so like overwhelming that it's almost like not worth it. Like, so I tend to kind of focus on my work and like that side of things. And I really only talk to like a few select people, right? Like my husband or my brother or like my family. But I definitely feel like lonely when I can't connect with people, like like whether it's in the office or like whatever, right? Your colleagues. I get that lonely feeling, but I also am not like raring to go around and like network and like introduce myself and like talk to people like that, I guess. Does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense, because Dave did say that people who are tribal of self, they are shy with people because they need permission first before they the play blast comes out. So the tribe give you permission, and then when they give you permission, they're like, okay, yeah, the gates are open and you can go crazy, right? But so it makes sense. And I was like you when I was younger too. Like my first job was Burger King, and I was like 17 and I was a mute. I'm play blast and I was a mute at work. I never spoke to anyone. I was dead quiet. I just did what I was told, and that's it. Like I didn't come out of my box until like I was older, like my shell. I mean, like, so I completely relate to what you said. And it's but just because you are shy and you need permission from a tribe, deep down inside though, do you feel like when you're with certain people, do you feel like I wish we could talk, I wish we could be friends? Do you have those feelings or no?
I don't know. It's like yes and no. I'm really weird around people, I think. I'm just really shy and awkward, and I think that sometimes I get too caught up in my like maybe my demon FI and I, and like I definitely fear like judgment and like, oh, they probably don't like me anyway, like just a lot of like negative self-talk like that. So I think that also affects like my ability to like be out there and talking with people. Like it's definitely like a hindrance. Like life would be a lot easier if I could let go of all that, just like negative self-talk and stuff like that.
Okay, I think that's the biggest difference between us is your sleep third versus my sleep last. It makes like a whole world of difference, because the way you described it was like, yes, you would like to be free of this like negative self-talk, to be free of have the freedom to just engage if you wanted to. But the thing is though, it's also good what you're doing, because like you come in and you have those thoughts and feelings. So, and that kind of stops you from engaging, which is bad and also good. Good because you're processing your thoughts and feelings, bad because you're not connecting, right? But I'm sleep last, right? So for me, it's like when I get to that situation, I start feeling like kind of like what you're feeling, that shyness, that's the negative self-talk. I just tell myself, Kendrick, shut the fuck up, just talk to that person. And because I can suppress it because it's sleep last, right? And then I do that, and then I do talk to people, and I do get burnt. I do get burnt. Like there is a percentage of time where like people look at me, it's like, I don't want to talk to you, fuck off, and then I get butthurt afterwards, right? But
I
that
would
was,
get so hurt too.
yeah, no, I'll go back to my seat. I'm like, I just feel really bad, and like I won't stop thinking about it, like the whole day, and it's, like
Yeah,
it's like even if
yeah,
my friends are talking to me, I'm still thinking about that, like so.
yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
yeah. But like, but it's not always bad. Sometimes it does pan out, and then I have a new friend. So so it's hit or miss.
Yeah,
So I think for you don't get hurt because you don't do it, which is the pro. The con is you don't make a new friend. So it's like, and sometimes it's in life, it is important to bring someone new to your life to give you a fresh perspective,
yeah.
and whatnot. So yeah. All right. So let's go back to your double masculine sleep. With double masculine sleep, and it's NF, I want to talk about the NF part of it. Because you're an ESFP, a lot of people with NF sleep have some kind of code or mantra that they adhere to in their life. I don't know if you have one or not, but I'll give you a few examples, and then you can let me know if you have any, right? So my girlfriend's mantra, I'm trying to remember what it is. It's what's it? Discomfort over resentment. So that's her mantra. So it's better for her to be uncomfortable, but do the right thing, than to be resentful later on, which is kind of what we're doing, which is like, it's kind of like the way you described things earlier is like, yeah, I'm so resentful, right? So my girlfriend's like, I don't want to be resentful, so I'll just be uncomfortable,
Yeah.
so that's her mantra as she's lead NIFI though, so she's a sleep, consume, play, blast, INTJ jumper. Jocko Willink, which is like your fellow ESFP, his is like discipline equals freedom. That one you probably heard of before, but that one is like the go-to for ESFPs. Discipline equals freedom. So do you have any mantra that you like, or saying or code that you live by, that you kind of go back to make decisions?
I don't really have like a specific one that I use like a mantra or anything, but I think like when push comes to shove, my one thought that I have is like, you know what, like we only have one fucking life, that you might as well live it exactly the way you want it to be. And then that's when I tell myself, like, that's when I go into my like, masculine FI, and I'm like, you know what, like do it, live for yourself, like do whatever you want to do. Who gives a fuck what anyone else thinks? And that's kind of what I think.
No, that is a saying. It's not completely like succinct, but it's there. It's there.
Yeah.
And that's fine because you're like EP, right? So obviously it takes time for you to get it like narrowed down into like a super perfect sentence. So, yeah, because like when Jocko Willink created discipline equals freedom, he was already in his like 50s or something. So it's not like you're gonna get it overnight. So it's fine. All right. Let me see. So because you have NF third, NF is also correlated with like purpose and meaning. Do you find it challenging to find meaning and purpose in life?
Yeah, I think like, yeah, I kind of like changed like what I valued and things like that all throughout my life. But like, I find a lot of purpose in like, I guess my work, but I guess it's a little different from just, someone who's working as a career. It's like, because my identity is tied to it, because they are my businesses and my companies, I find just a lot of like that's where I feel meaning, I guess. And of course, when I get into like my demon states, like, when I fall into my depression, or when I'm like drunk or something, and I do access that, I do start thinking a lot about like, the meaning of life, and like, what am I doing? And like, I really need to be like, creating better relationships with these people, and all these like different epiphanies will start to come up, but only in those like dark situations, I guess.
Yeah, I remember Dave saying that like for ESTPs and ESFPs, he does think that, because a lot of ESTPs, ESFPs, they don't see their NI unless they do drugs or get drunk. So
Yeah.
so I see what you mean when you're saying like, yeah, I'm gonna get drunk, and then that's when like those epiphanies come out. Like for me, when I got drunk before, it's the opposite. It's more like, oh, I learned how to be SF. I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird. So yeah, I guess if you want to see a preview of what your like demon looks like, you just have to do drugs or alcohol.
Yeah, but I don't know, like I love it, and like every time I do like get like drunk or high or both or whatever, like all these epiphanies come like raging up, and I'm like, shit, like I should be writing all this down, and then the next morning I forget it. But you know, like it's I think it's a pretty efficient way to access, you know, your demons, I guess. And like one thing that I love too is just like psychedelics and mushrooms. Like when I eat mushrooms, I can really, really, really process the things I've been ignoring, right? And I find that super helpful as well.
That's great. Um, but okay, when you're not on the shrooms and the alcohol, can you tap onto the intuition at will, or is it impossible, or is it not? Because you're masculine and I, right? So
Yeah,
you can see it. So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I would say I can grasp the NI of things. But it's really only if it's like super purposeful and I'm like by myself and I can focus and really like grasp it, I think, is when I can. So like, I don't know, just a lot of like journaling and stuff like that. I don't know, kind of related to that, I was kind of thinking that, you know, people who have demon and I, like they do have a fear of being by themselves. Like I was kind of thinking the other day, like if I were to ever go into like a sensory deprivation tank, I would be terrified. Like I would not like that at all.
Really?
Yeah.
What's so scary about it? Like ghosts? You know, that's the joke, right? Like ESFPs are scared of ghosts.
Yeah, and there's so much truth to that. Like when I first heard it, I thought it was funny too, right? But I was like, a lot of my life was spent really, really afraid of ghosts. And it got so bad to the point where, you know, like I didn't know what I was gonna see, like in the mirror, outside the shower, like in the dark, right? And so I was always just like hyper vigilant and like like growing up, like sometimes I would just leave the bathroom door open when I'm like using the bathroom, or like leave the shower half open, and then like a puddle of water would pool, and then my mom slipped in the bathroom, and like I don't know, like all these things really affected me, and it was always because I was like scared of ghosts and like scared of like spirits, and I don't know, like seeing something that I don't want to see, I guess.
So the abstract is scary.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
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 Yeah, I have an ESFP friend too. She keeps telling me her I don't want to be a dick, but like her stupid ghost stories. I'm like, oh my god, stop making shit up. You know, you're just like you're in she's I think when you guys see a ghost, I think you're tapping into your intuition and you don't know what it is, so you call it ghost, but you know
It's also like the anticipation of ghosts. It's like I can't really ever say that I've seen anything for real, but like just knowing that it could be around the corner is what like scares the crap out of me.
yeah. Okay, well that's fair. So okay, if you're in a deprivation tank, do you feel like a ghost is gonna come get you or something? Or like what's so scary about the deprivation tank?
It's just scary because like you're alone with your thoughts, and my thoughts are racing all over the place, and like with my imagination it's probably gonna go directly to ghosts, or like, you know, like something is gonna grab me while I'm floating in here, or like maybe there's just like you know, some body appendage floating in here with me that I don't know that's there right now. I don't know, like anything could happen, and I think that's what's scary.
I feel like I feel like something magical will happen if you like go through it. Just because yes, you will see the ghost in your head and the body appendages that you're imagining. Like you will imagine all that stuff, and it's scary, and you're gonna freak the fuck out. But I feel like if you kept going to the end, I think you will see something that you're supposed to see that like will give you
Yeah,
they'll give you the answer that you're looking for, but
yeah,
you cannot get the answer until you go through this like scary darkness of
yeah,
hell, you
yeah.
know. Yeah, so I maybe you should do it. I've
I know, right? Yeah, I probably should.
done it
Just
before. So
experience.
I've done the deprivation tank before. I didn't like it, but only because it was like boring and I kept like needing to pee, you know. It's like so I'm like so I'm like this tank for so long. Um, but yeah, I noticed people would save your sleep do like it a lot. So I don't know. So maybe there's something to it. Okay, let's talk about your blast. Your blast is NT. It's like an INTJ's blast. It's kind of interesting because you're like a weird ESFP. You have double activated NT blast because you're consume blast. And the other thing that's also interesting is like I feel like you are like the pure blood glass lizard ESFP, because each animal is correlated with like with a type, with an archetype. So play is correlated with EJs, and sleep is correlated with IPs. Consume is correlated with EPs, and blast is correlated with IJ. So you are like the weirdest EP because you're double activated blast. That would make you like almost like a double activated IJ, which is your opposite as an EP, which is control, but like abstract. So can you talk about like that weird paradox that you live with, like being like a controlling EP? Like, yeah, go for it.
Okay, so yeah, the control topic is really interesting because yeah, I don't know, because I have my feminine saviors and everything, like I always thought that, you know, I was just really like go with the flow and I don't really care, but it does turn out that I really fucking hate to be controlled, right? So even in like school systems and work, just like rules and things like that, like I can't stand it. And even like the perception that someone is controlling me in any way is like, it really like upsets me so much. I'll give you an example. Like when I was small, like obviously as an EP, I'm super messy, clutter everywhere, right? Like, and my mom would regularly go in and clean my room, even like organizing all of my journals. And my journals is where I do my NF, right? My NF sleep. It's like really weird, dark shit in my journals, right? And so once I kind of got the hint that maybe she's reading my journals, like that, like, it like really upset me. Like, and like I ended up just throwing away all my journals because I don't know, I was like fuck this, like no one's ever gonna read it. And then now that I did throw it away, I kind of regret it because now I can't go back and read through all of my, you know, my bullshit growing up. But yeah, and then I would say like on the flip side, the way that I'm controlling is like maybe another example is with work. So I do like the marketing, the branding, all of that. And I don't know, I'm super territorial over it. Like I don't like that I'm like that, but I have a vision and I know what I want to like create. So when other people start jumping in and saying, why don't you do this, why don't you do that? I get like really pissed off. So I'm super controlling about that for sure.
So it sounds like you're freaking out about the masculine NI. So that tells me that your ideas and plans are personal to you. Would you say that's about right? And if someone shits on it, it's like, no, I really thought it through. So, you know.
Yeah. Yep.
And then
totally.
Because you're tester visual, you have that visual aspect of things. And then maybe you're thinking, you just don't see what I see, you know?
Yeah, totally.
Now, because your blast is NT, it's abstract. It's also planning for other people. Do you find it that it's easier for you to plan for other people than to plan for yourself?
Yeah. I find it in general easier for me to do anything for other people than it is to do for myself. And like planning is just so hard for me in general. Like I don't know, like, okay, my wedding, pretty much my husband planned the whole thing because he's NI, right? But like to me, like it's just so overwhelming. And even things like cooking, I hate it because I don't want to like plan out what to buy and like where to buy it and then come home, prep all, like it's just too much. So yeah, I guess like to answer your question, like I'm much more willing to do things like planning for other people than for myself. Like when it comes to me trying to plan, I'll never plan like a trip or like a birthday party or anything like that for myself because it's like not worth it to me.
Got it. You're okay. So that's very interesting. Like the whole like don't want to plan thing. It's not that you can't, but you don't want to. So it's funny because we both share blast as a savior. And blast uses our third and fourth function. So in one of more recent videos by Dave and Shan, they showed that the grant stack still matters. So, S, E, F, I, T, and N, I, right? So the order still matters. So even though you are savior blast, do you find that it's still difficult for you to blast because you're using your third and fourth function, like you're using your T and your NI? Do you find that it's still challenging and it's still like a pain in the ass, even though you have it in a savior state?
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. And like, so when you say blast, are you kind of referring to like getting things going and doing things, or is it more like the teaching and like that side of blast?
Well, every animal has different dimensions to it. So you kind of mentioned 2 dimension, which is like, teaching, and there's also getting started, but there's other like dimension to it, which is like the NITE part, which is like NT, like problem solving for others, So with all those dimensions, do you feel like it's hard to use some of those dimensions, or is it all of them that you have difficulty with?
Yeah, I think it's pretty difficult for me. And it kind of goes back to like my whole ADD diagnosis. Like it's really hard for me to like, I don't know, like get started on things because I can't because I haven't planned it, right? And so like when I do just start something, I just kind of like just do it and think about it later. So I guess like in that situation of blast, like maybe I can just, play blast my way through it and just start. But I find it really like difficult for me it's uncomfortable to like have to teach. So if I were to ever have like, I don't know, like, YouTube channels and things like that, it would never be like me teaching anything, right? It would be more like just play blast bullshitting and sharing things, I guess. But yeah.
But you have a YouTube channel, right? You do have a
I
YouTube.
do. Yeah. And nobody watch it because it's so cringy. It's basically like me trying to process every step of the way in my OP journey, like all the different types that I've been given. And like, of course, as a freaking idiot consume last, like I'm probably like spouting things that like don't even make sense, but yeah.
That's funny. So it sounds like the getting started part you can do, but like the NITE part is hard, the actual like using the N. So let's cover your NI, your masculine NI. It's your fourth function. It requires you to plan. You also you already talked about the ghosting earlier, so that's like part of the abstract fear. What about systems? Do you like part of NI is having systems and seeing your reoccurring patterns? Let's start with your reoccurring patterns first. So you kind of mentioned it earlier already, but is it something that you can see quite clearly, like your own recurring pattern in your life? Like things that you've screwed up over and over again, and you're like, I've done this before, why am I doing it again?
Not at all, not at all. I think I suck at that. And it's probably because of my SE, where everything looks like a variation or a completely different situation, even though maybe the underlying pattern is the same. And okay, so like a good example is like, once in a while I'll fall into like a really, really bad depression, like a dark depression. And like every single time I'm in that place, it feels so new and so different and so raw and like somehow even darker and worse. And like I have no idea how to get out of it. But I think that if I actually were to take the time to like think about it and say, hey, there's a pattern here, I could get out. But because of that, I tend to get stuck in my situations.
Got it. What about systems? Do you systematize your life or other people's life?
Nope, not at all. Yeah, like my computer files are like all over the place. Like my notes are like in many different apps and different pieces of paper. I know that I need to be systematizing things, and I think that's where my practice at it always comes from work. So like, well, another aspect of our family business is we sell like merchandise, and that's all me. And so merchandise, obviously we need a system for everything, like cataloging, the SKU numbers, like the storage inventory, right? So that's, I think, where I'm getting that practice of, okay, if I don't set myself up for success by being diligent about the system, then like, a week later, I'm gonna forget what this means and like everything is screwed. So I think I practice it most at work, but it's really hard for me to do it for myself in my own personal life.
Gotcha. Let's talk about your last animal, sleep. Sorry, not sleep. Consume. Your
Mhm.
consume is SF. It's weird because you're an ESFP, so that's typical, that should be your go-to, right? Um, but you don't seem like you have trouble with that. So like every animal has different dimensions. So it doesn't seem like you have a problem with the SF side of things. You seem like you have like the cool factor down. Um,
Really? I don't know. I don't know.
it seems that, but from my perspective, it seems like you have
Okay.
the cool factor down. But what about the consuming new information part? Is that something that you have trouble with? Is it consuming new information, or is that something that you do already?
I consume anything that I find love, right? Or I find TE useful, or I find SE visually like pleasing, right? But if it's like outside of that, like yeah, I really don't like listening to new information. Like even like the classroom and meetings to me were like torture. Like if it's not something that I really like. So yeah, it was just like that painful feeling of like, oh God, I can't sit through this. I can't sit through this. And yeah, I see that very clearly now.
And do you find it hard to like listen to other people if you're talking to them? Like,
Yeah, like okay, so even right now, like we're talking, right? But like I keep spacing out. And I'm like, okay, wait, what was this question? What was this question? And it's not so much because I'm like trying to talk back or anything like that. It's just like it's really hard for me to just like I guess soak in new information. And even like when I buy a product, I just expect it to be so user friendly that I can play blast my way through it. Like the last thing I want to do is look at the manual because I don't want to read it.
it's kind of funny that you mentioned that you were spacing out earlier because when I do a lot of interviews, many times I do space out and I'm like, oh shit, because I've demon consume also, and like if I'm talking to someone, no offense to all the people I've interviewed in the past, but like sometimes I do interview someone that's like really boring, and I'm like, oh
Yeah.
fuck me, hurry up, like, I know, no, people are gonna be scared, you know.
So when you space out, are you thinking about like the next question to ask, or are you just like thinking about something completely random?
Well, I'm still info dominant, so I'm listening, but
Yeah.
I don't want to listen, but I'm listening because I'm info dominant. I gotta make sure that I have the information accurate. So
Yeah.
I'm like dying inside because I don't want to listen to you because you're saying bullshit. You're saying bullshit. You're full of shit, and you're full of yourself. So like so so. I mean, not everyone. There's like it's just a handful of people that are like that. ISTP. So just kidding. But like, no, but no. Most people are great. But like I always learn from a lot from other people. But but yeah, I do think about that. I'm like, okay, like if they're boring, I just start thinking to myself, like, how do I make this more interesting? Because this person's so boring, or
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, if they're full of shit, I'm like, this person's making shit up. This person doesn't know what they're talking about. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, how do I steer this away from this so they don't make an ass of themselves, like, or like, or if they're being full of themselves, I'm like, oh my god, you're so cringy. Just stop. You're like, you're so full of yourself, just like,
Yeah.
like no one thinks you're cool, no one thinks you're smart. You're a fucking idiot. Like, like please look in the mirror and like, like.
Yeah.
But I still have consumed, so I'm listening to them and I'm just like dying,
Yeah.
yeah, but so I can see your perspective when you said that earlier, and I'm like, okay, like I get it, but probably worse than me because like you have it last.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my whole life I've been described as like aloof and spacey, which is like so real, so real. And I think it improved a little bit when I got diagnosed with ADD and I started stimulants. Then I was a little bit more like grasping what was going on and what was being said to me. But yeah, I'm definitely like I'm spacey, I think.
Yeah, you're an interesting type because you'll go to this crackhead play blast mode, and then you'll space out. It's like,
Yeah.
it's like,
Yes. It drives me nuts. It drives me nuts. And I think like depending on when people meet me, like depending on my mood, if I'm like drinking or whatever, I think I come across as like completely different people. So the next time they meet me, they're just like, oh, like what's wrong? Or like, oh, are you okay? And it's like, yeah, I'm fine. I don't know. I think I just come across differently just in any situation, I think.
Okay, so since you're consume last, that means you're energy dominant. And going back to what we talked about at the start of the interview, where with info dominant, it's a little bit more smooth to talk with info dominance because of the steady flow of information. One person's consuming, and then you can blast, so you can do both, right? So it's not like, you know, you're not like being weird with information. But the good thing about energy dominant is you guys know how to have fun. So when it's time to goof around, you can goof around and just be an idiot. Can you talk about like being goofy and, you know, acting like a moron and just having fun and stuff?
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I think at the core of it, like when I'm by myself, I'm like super goofy and silly and whatever. But like I'm also very like influenced by my external situation. So so my husband, who is NIFI, I think he is missing play. And so when I'm around him, I get a little bit more serious because he doesn't always appreciate like my goofiness or like my random jokes and stuff. Like our humor is not exactly the same, right? So I've kind of like learned to not really like be super goofy around him. But yeah, sorry, I'm like spacing out again, even though I'm talking.
Yeah, no, it's all good. No, I'm just thinking about what you said. So, it's the energy dominant goofiness is it's weird because like it sometimes it comes out in the most inappropriate scenario.
Yeah.
I'm info dom. I'm play first, right? So I can still I can goof around and stuff if need be, but I prefer to talk about information. So like when I'm with my girlfriend and she's like energy dominant, so she's always goofing around and shit. I'm like, no. This is serious time. We gotta have a serious time. And she'll be like down, right? I'm like, okay, you're blast last and you have problems with your family. And you're always goofing around. Like it's not a surprise to me why your family doesn't take you seriously because you're always goofing around. If you goof around a lot, guess what? People look at you and they think you're a joke. So no offense. I say that to my girlfriend, like no offense, you know. So I'm like, you're having family issues right now because my girlfriend finally blew up on her dad. Like kind of like she's not doing what you know, like that's yeah, I know. She shook the bottle too hard and now it blew up. And I'm like, you know, blast last. So she needed to talk to them about something serious, but she goofed around instead when she's having dinner with them. And then after several years of goofing around and them treating her like a joke, she finally blew up because she wants to be taken seriously. You know, so I'm like,
yeah.
okay. So
I really relate to that too, because like I think like at my natural state I am very like playful and goofy, but like again it comes back to like work, right? I'm supposed to be like people's bosses and leaders and whatever, and it's really hard for me, and on top of that I'm like double feminine, and I'm 5 feet tall, and I feel like nobody takes me seriously, and it's been like really eating away at me, like it like just I don't know. It's like, it really sucks when people don't take you seriously, I guess. And so work is another place where I definitely tone down the goofiness, and I try to be like super serious and super direct. And sometimes I feel like, you know, it's not natural. So I'm like forcing it, but I'm really trying to like build that muscle.
Yeah. That's hard. I don't know how you would, because if you're naturally goofy, then that's who you are, right? Like, it's like, you know, like my girlfriend's argument to it is like, you know, why should I change myself to appease my parents? You know, like I am goofy, so what? Yeah. And I'm like trying to tell her, I'm like, yeah, but you also want to be taken seriously. You know, like you also you want, yeah, you are goofy, but you want to be taken seriously. So if you want to be taken seriously, you need to show the serious side too. You can't just show the goofy side. You has to be a balance, right? So so I feel like with a lot of energy dominance, it's they don't know when to balance the goofiness and the seriousness. So do you find yourself like having to struggle when, because the thing is, the truth is, yes, you are goofy and that is you, right? But there's also a serious side to you and that's also you. So are you telling me that's not you? Because that is also you, right? Like you also have a serious side. Like you told me earlier, like when you journal, it's like all the dark shit that you were journaling about. So isn't that serious? Like the dark shit are serious?
Yeah, I guess that is serious. Yeah, I guess, I don't know if maybe I'm perceived on the outside as just maybe emotional then. Like I can be goofy, but I can be really dark. And like, you know, just emotional maybe. Which is interesting because all this time I thought I was a feeler, right? Like I thought I was INFP and FI, but turns out I'm SETE, which is really weird. So that was another shock. I was like, I'm a thinker, huh?
Yeah, you know, I'm really weirded out with the SETE thing because like a lot of a lot of like double feminists are SETE, so it doesn't seem like you're SETE because you are very like feely and like.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
Yeah.
how do I even type someone like that? I don't know, you know.
Okay. What's super interesting, right? Like, you know how the two teams, your two teams with Benjamin, you guys type me.
I type you wrong. Yeah, I type is an ENFP back.
Yeah, but okay, here's the thing. It's like I got INFP, ENFP, ESFJ, like, and then there was just like a lot of the comments were like, oh, everything's about feelings. It's all feelings.
Yeah.
So yeah, but turns out I'm talking reasons, but I don't know.
Yeah, well, Dave typed later on, and he said that you were consume last ESFP, and I was like, what? How did he get to that? Like, oh, she explained it. You know, he didn't explain it, but that's how. I don't know. Did you talk to him about it?
Okay, so that's another thing I wanted to bring up. So like my typing journey was a little bit different in that like you guys typed me, right? And then your consensus, you came really close. You guys ended up at double feminine, SETE, play, blast, and then the sleep and consumer switched, right? That was the final type that you guys got for me. And I was like, okay, that's weird. And then so I just emailed Dave and Shan directly, and I was like, hey, like, I know all of your video typing services are like super clogged up, but I was wondering, can you like help me out? Like, this is what they got for me and blah, blah, blah. And then I was kind of like hoping that I would get video typed and do the whole thing, but I just got like a super short response back saying like, hey, Candice, we've seen your videos and this is the type we got for you, boom. And I was like, whoa, like, so that was that. So I didn't really get a chance to like debrief or talk about it or anything. It was just kind of like, okay, this is it. And so I just kind of took it upon myself to try to process everything by myself.
Yeah, it's weird how you got the way you got typed was definitely weird. Like you were officially typed though, because Dave did type you, and he did tell Benjamin that your final result after everyone sent in their thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is like the consume last ESFP jumper, and I'm like looking at your video, I'm like, were you giving a reporter? I was like, are you giving a report in your video?
Yeah.
And now that I think about it, I feel like maybe you were giving a report. It's just messy because it's SE, right? And like, what does an SE report look like? An SETE report? Because like SI report's easy to see. It's like, I did this, I opened a door, and then I put my foot on the carpet, and then I took off my shoes. It's like, you know, it's very easy to see, right? But what the hell? What are you reporting on? Like, what is that messy? And it's double feminine, so it's even messier than, you know, like a masculine SE report.
Yeah. And I think my type is kind of weird because there was actually another person that they typed. Her name is Jasmine Star. I think it was like one of Shannon's like photography friends back in the early days, and then now she's like some Instagram influencer and like talks about, you know, how to, I don't know, be an entrepreneur or something like that. But yeah, I feel like she's completely different than me, even though we're the same type. So I don't know, really interesting.
She's also consumed less?
Yeah, she's the exact same type.
Everything, all feminine and everything?
Yep, exact same.
Oh, well, the only thing I can think of is like, your environment does make a big difference. So her environment is different, your environment's different, you know?
Yeah.
You know, you grew up in Hawaii, you're Asian, you know, so it's like, you know, there's like different environmental factors. Yeah, because I've seen like, okay, have you ever met someone that you feel like they're you? Or like a close to your type? And it's like weird. I don't know if you've ever felt that way.
Actually, not really. Not yet.
Okay. Well, it's happened to me, I think, once. Or yeah, like once or twice now. That's twice. Because I saw someone on YouTube that I'm like, oh my God, they look like me. And they're doing the same kind of video as me. And
oh my God.
Exact same topic. Looks like me. I'm like, oh shit, what the fuck? Actually, no.
Wait, topic?
Yeah, because I'm a travel blogger, so I have a travel blog and I have a travel YouTube channel, and I like to talk about credit cards and how to use points to get like cheap travel, like cheap trips.
That's right.
And then there's a dude that looks exactly like me who does exact same videos, how to use credit card to save money on travel. He looks exactly like me, like we look exactly the same. And I even message him. I don't think we're the same type though. I think he's play consume. I think I'm play blast, because like when I talk to him, he seems more introverted. And then and I was reading someone else's blog who looks exactly like me, has the same exact topic, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm just a clone of all these people. And then one time, I got stranded in the middle, like my car got impounded, and because like I was speeding, EP chaos, right? And then my friend got one of his friends to come pick us up in the middle of nowhere. And then when his friend was there to pick up me and my girlfriend and my friend, I was like, oh my God, is this person me? This person's so cringy. Is it me? And then like everything he's saying and everything he's doing, I'm like, oh my God, that's me. I feel so disgusted. I feel so disgusted. Like I do all that shit he's doing. I feel gross, like yeah, like I was saying, I'm like, oh my God, like he's talking to my friend, but he's not really talking to my friend. He's trying to talk to my friend, but he's really trying to talk to me and my girlfriend. So he's saying it in a way that it sounds like he's talking to my friend, but he's really trying to show off his life to his us.
You can like see right through that, and then
yeah, because I'm angry, right? And I'm like,
yeah.
and I'm like, I do that, and I am embarrassed that I do that, and I stopped doing it since when I saw him do it, I stopped doing it. I'm like, never doing it again. If I want to tell someone something, I'm just gonna tell them directly, because like this is so pathetic. This is so pathetic, and I'm doing this, and it's cringe, and yeah, I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, I mean, that's good when you like have those moments of like awareness, right? It's like, oh shit, I do that, like, because half the time it's like we don't even know like what we're doing, and then when we see it, it's like, oh God, that's so cringy.
Yeah, that's why I was asking you if you've ever talked to someone or met someone that's your type, because it's like a weird feeling. Like, Dave, he type Andrew Garfield, who looks like exactly like him. And he's like, he's like cringing, right? And then whenever he watches like an INTJ giving like lessons, he's like, oh, stop. Like, it's so embarrassing. Fuck, like.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I guess to answer your question, like I did look into that girl Jasmine Star's like Instagram account, like YouTube, and she's like super energetic, like okay, like I didn't actually consume her content, so I don't really know what she's all about, but she's always about like just like wake up and be your best self, and you like boss babe type stuff, and like that to me is kind of cringy. Yeah. So I just kind of scrolled it. I'm like, yeah, no, thank you.
But do you do that?
I mean, I guess I do. Like, I made that whole YouTube series about me just like processing my type and trying to like understand it, I guess. But I don't know if I could like necessarily like instruct people like on how to build their life. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't feel equipped to that.
But you call it boss babe, right? But aren't you doing that too? You are the boss of like you had your own entrepreneur, you had your own business before that you sold, and then you are managing people now. So aren't you kind of?
Yeah, I guess so. But it's like one of those things that like I don't put on blast. It's like honestly like I keep it a secret almost. Like yeah, even with like my last company that I like started and sold, like I never like talked about it on like my own personal social media. It was just like I need to keep it a secret in case like I fail or like anything, So I never really like blasted that, I think.
Oh, maybe you're more aware of your NIFI. Like you're more self. You're more self-conscious maybe about like.
I'm super self-conscious.
Yeah. But you are definitely a producer, which is a consume last superpower. Like the fact that you have a business and you sold it, that is amazing. Like I'm play blast and I can't do what you're doing. I'm not lead ST, right? So I cannot. Like I started a business before, but it flopped. So I don't have that ST power. I cannot. My ST is my bottom two function. So, you definitely have a superpower there with your like.
I guess so. Yeah, it's weird when like it's your saviors because you're just kind of like I guess like you don't really appreciate it too much, but I have to give like so much credit to my husband, right? My like NIFITE husband, like he if it weren't for him, like my ideas and everything just would have been like splat, but he's the one that came in and brought all the structure and control and the finances, and I feel like that's the reason why we succeeded and why we sold. Like I really think that.
I see your DE coming out. You're like giving the compliment and the credit to someone else. Like no, but
yeah,
you're the lead ST. There's no fucking way your husband could have done what you've done. So like the lead ST has a superpower to get shit done. And I can't do that. Like he can have the master plan, but without the doer, there is nothing. You don't manifest or create anything.
That's true.
It's just in your head, right? So yeah. Yeah, like you did it, you know. All right, cool. So I have a few more questions for you and we'll wrap up the interview. So we'll cover whatever we haven't covered yet. So let's start with tester and visual. So you are tester, so you like to, so Dave clarified tester more in a recent video. I don't know if you saw it, but he did confirm tester is smelling. It is part, it's smelling, okay? So, you know, that was my suspicion because audio is ear, is here, and visuals obviously see, and then kinesthetic is touch, like it's touch. So he did confirm that tester is smell, but it's a two-part component. So it's like smelling and then trying, smelling and trying. So there's like an experimental portion of it. And he even made a joke that, you know, if there's like a plant in the forest and the tribe needs someone to try it out to see if it's poisonous or not, they'll get the tester to try it, and if they die, you know, it's like, well, whatever. They're like dark, because the tester will try anything. But then obviously with a keen sense of smell, you'll know if something's off or not, right? So you'll know if it's like, oh, this is pungent, it's probably not good, right? So talk about your sense of smell and like wanting to try different food. You know, let's start with that.
Oh, okay, super interesting topic. So I don't know, I've never really given that much like preference to my nose or attention to my nose. Like, you know, I'm not one of those people that can like sniff out like a sommelier, like, you know, different notes in wine or anything like that. But when it comes to like trying food, I'm open-minded, but I'm also really picky. And I think that might just be my FI. It's like, if I like something, I'm gonna stick with that because that's what I like, you know? And if I hate something, I'm never gonna eat it. Like when I was a kid, I was super picky, never ate like a majority of like certain vegetables and you know, like just stuff like that. But aside from the FI love and hate, I think I am pretty open-minded and I'll try things.
Yeah, you're a weird paradox because you consume last, right? So it's very weird.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the tester wants you to experiment, but the consume last doesn't. So it's like,
Yeah.
so when do you make the choice to try something? Like, do you have to get drunk first, or can you do it naturally?
Ooh, okay. I try a lot of things when I'm pressured by my DE. When I'm at someone's house and I don't like it, right? Or I don't want to eat it, but I'm like, oh my God, but their mom made it. Like, I'll eat it. You know, DE plays a big factor in me trying new things. And then also, like, my husband and I used to have like huge fights about the fact that I was so picky and I wouldn't eat certain things. And at the time, I was always thinking, like, what the hell? Like, why are you getting so mad? You know, just like let people like what they like. And, you know, like, I didn't understand, but he was like, it's all edible. Like, why are you, who are you to like pick out certain things? Like, if the chef intended it for it to be that way, why are you picking things out? And like, we used to like seriously fight about this. And you know, in hindsight, it's kind of funny. But yeah, those are really the only situations when I feel outside pressure. I'll eat new things, or if it involves ingredients that I love, but it's like maybe made in a new way. Like, I'll try that too.
You kind of just the way you describe your husband is kind of weird. It's like it sounded like he had FE or SI or something. Like, because like, you know, like the FE is like, okay, you know, the chef made it like this. Why are you picking it out? You're gonna hurt his feelings. Or maybe it's
Oh,
like,
I don't think it's necessarily like a feeling thing. He's kind of coming at it more of like a first of all, like survival, right? If this celery or this carrot is an edible thing, like, why are you picking it out, kind of thing.
yeah, that's why I was thinking, is it FE or SI? Because it could be SI also. I'm like, huh? Kind of like SI also, like, you know, yeah, don't waste food, number one. A lot of SIs think they're obsessed with like not wasting food. Masculine SI, and then the other obsession is like, you know, when you make food, like that's the dish, the ingredients is there for a reason. It has to be there, otherwise it won't taste the way it should taste. So I'm like, huh? I wonder if your husband's SI now. But anyways, I'm just guessing. Okay, cool. Talk about visual. Do you learn pretty well also from seeing?
Yeah, I think so. And I definitely put a lot of value on like visuals, and it's something that you know, because it's my savior, I didn't really like appreciate it that much or like give that much like credit to it. But I think in any given situation, like with all the businesses that I start or whatever I'm doing, like I always feel responsible for the visuals, like the branding, like the packaging, the signage, like all of that to me is like super important. And like I know like feminine SE is always described as like a video camera that's always scanning. But when I hear that, I'm thinking like, but what is it like for everyone else? Aren't your eyes basically like a video camera that's scanning? Like, no? Like what is vision like for other people?
Well, I'm blind. I don't see anything. Not because I'm Asian. Just kidding. But but no, I remember I was with my buddy and we were driving and he kept saying, "Oh, look at the decorations! Like you see the Christmas lights and stuff." And I'm like, "I don't see shit. I don't see shit. Like I don't see the Christmas lights. I mean I see it, but it doesn't evoke any feeling to me. It doesn't. Does nothing for me. Like I see it and it's just there, and I don't think anything of it. It wasn't until like I think I was in college and we were working with a fashion designer, a fashion image consultant, and we were doing like I was taking a course called special events planning and marketing, and we had to like execute on like a fashion show. And then like they made me like one of the model for the fashion show. So like I was working with this image consultant, and she went up to me. She's like, "Kendrick, your skin tone is autumn." I'm like, "Huh? What does that mean?" He's like, "It's like you look good wearing this color of clothes." I'm like, "Ooh, it's interesting. Okay, tell me more." You know, he's like, "And your face is small, so you need to wear V-necks. If you have a big face, you need to wear crew neck." I'm like, "Oh." I'm like, and then that's when I started looking at stuff when she was like teaching me all this stuff.
Yeah.
I think that girl was a designer though. She was such a bitch to other people, but she's nice to me. So okay, she was nice to me, so it's fine. But like, yeah, she was definitely a diva. But yeah, so like before that happened, I don't see shit. I don't see clothes. I see nothing. So I think I also have SI, so I don't see SE. I don't see physical. I don't see physical things. So it's so I don't like so I don't know what you guys are doing. Because my girlfriend's doing what you're doing. She's like looking around and like, wow, that color makes me feel so happy. I'm like, huh? You know, like does that
Yeah.
happen to you? Like you'll see something and you're like, oh, that looks so nice. I feel great. You know.
Yes, like okay, so you know in 2020 when like everything shut down for COVID, right? Like so it was like the same in Hawaii where everything shut down, cars were off the road. And then I noticed that the following spring, the flowers were so beautiful because there wasn't so much exhaust and fumes and crap in the air. And so I think like, yeah, like that kind of stuff when flowers are just like so vibrant, it's just like, wow, like it like blows me away. Or like sometimes when the sky is like that perfect cotton candy shade, right? And sunset, it's like so beautiful. Or yeah, and I also just like notice like things moving in the background and stuff. So I'm really attentive to like animals and critters and bugs. Like I love like stuff like that. So whenever like I don't know, like an animal or like yesterday I was like chilling at home and then a mongoose like came up to our front patio and that was like super exciting and it made my day. Yeah.
Can you talk about how that makes you happy? Like I'm kind of curious. Like why does it like how does that evoke feeling? How does like seeing those things make you feel happy or feel good? Like I'm
Okay, I think it's because like, you know, like your surroundings are always kind of static in a sense, and you have your routine and you see the same thing over and over and over and over, and it just becomes dull, right? But when something is different or beautiful or like just there's like a change in the scenery, that's when I'm like, oh shit, that's so cool.
and you're very sensitive to that, like you are aware that it happens, like when the
Not always, not always. Like I think because it's feminine sensory, it's like I'm not always like pinpoint looking at specific things. I'm just kind of in general, like, okay, like all this stuff is happening. But when I like see something enter the frame that maybe shouldn't be there, or I don't know, like, does that make any sense?
yeah, but what about that makes it exciting or fun? I cannot relate. I have NE, right? So I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, like my girlfriend, if we go travel, for example, she'll be like,
Yeah.
oh my God, look at all the design on this window, this store. You know, I'm like, I don't give a shit. I don't give a fuck. Yeah, whatever. You know, like
Yeah,
I have zero appreciation for it. So I'm curious,
uh,
what about it that makes it make you feel good? Like what? It's very SE, so I'm curious.
Yeah. It's almost like play in a sense where like, okay, so for example, whenever like I see someone on the street with like really cool fucking style, like I love that, because they like paired things that shouldn't go well together and they look cool as fuck. Like that kind of stuff makes me super happy. Or when I walk through the grocery store and I notice like a packaging that's like just so well thought out and looks so good. I'm like, shit, this is like someone put a lot of thought into this. It looks really good. And I'll like take a picture or something. I don't know, just like visuals in general, like just make me happy, I guess.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand it. I'm like, because I remember I took a breakdancing class when I was younger, and I remember the breakdancing instructor said, if you can breakdance, and by the time you finish breakdancing, your shoes is still completely clean, like there's not a single scratch on it, that means you have done well. And I'm like, who gives a shit if your shoes has a scratch or not? It's a fucking shoe. Who cares? But like now that I'm like, okay, it must be an SE thing, like it's like you're able to do like some kind of movement, and there's like something cool that you can do, like not messing up your shoe, for example. Like that's cool, I guess, but I don't understand it. And I'm trying to understand it from you right now, and I still don't. Like I can see you being happy by those things, and I can see my girlfriend being happy by those things. But I don't know why that would make you happy. Like I can't wrap my head around it. So okay, so when you travel, so I noticed with SE people, when you guys travel, do you travel, by the way? Like you like traveling, right?
Not recently, but yeah, I used to travel a lot.
Yeah, okay. So I noticed with people with SE, when they travel, they like to try like walking in different roads and different streets, looking at different shops and trying different food and doing different activities. And for me, I'm like, I hate all that stuff. But I travel a lot. I have been to so many countries, but I don't like to do any of that stuff. So
what do you like? What's like at the top of your list that you love to do?
The top of my list. So I'm a country collector. So the number one thing for me is I go to a new country and I'm happy. That's it. The fact that I've been to a new country, I'm already happy. I don't need to do anything. Okay. I know it's kind of weird, but that
is weird.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense, but it's kind of like with your SE stuff, right? Like it doesn't make sense to me, but okay, whatever. To each their own. So that's the first one. Second one is I have SI, so I like to do things in a different country that I already do at home, but I like to see it in the new country because it's SI. So I like to do. So I work in the fitness industry, like right. So I like fitness centers. So I like to go to a new country and see what their gyms look like in a different country. I know it's fucking weird, but it's like, I like, oh, what do they have in their gym? Do they have a foam roller? Do they have kettlebells? Like, I'm curious, And then I also like to watch movies in different countries. I'm like, oh, I wonder what their movie theater is like. I wonder what they're like, what they do. Because every movie theater in a different country, they do weird shit. Like in Thailand, for example, you have to stand up and sing the anthem, which is freaking weird,
That's weird.
Yeah, and I like those like experiences. I'm like, ooh, and I like to compare it with like what I already know. Like, so and then so I like those kind of stuff. I like to try different like burgers and French fries from different countries because like I'm like, oh, I wonder if it tastes the same as my country. So, but it's not like, but it's not like even for working out, I noticed with people with SE, you guys don't like to do the same movement, the same exercise, the same activity. But for me, it's the opposite. Like it has to be the same workout, the same routine on the same day. And even though I'm SE in the bottom, SI in the bottom, that's just the way I see things. So when you're doing things and I see my girlfriend doing things and I'm like, how is that enjoyable? Like I don't get it. Like
okay, there's so much joy in like variety and the unexpectedness. And I think that's why we love going down like alleys and going into like thrift stores and antique shops and that kind of stuff. It's like you don't know what you're gonna come across, and that makes the whole entire experience.
Okay, so I can relate with the unexpected. I do like the unexpected, especially with people. I like weird people because I do like, I like variety. I like it when people are being authentic. If I see someone being a weirdo, I'm like, hey, great, that's just who you are, and be you. I don't know if you feel that way, but you have FI also, right? So
yes, yeah.
So for me, like when I travel, I love talking to people from different countries. Like that for me is like I would rather do that than try different food from a different country. I'd rather talk to the local, So I don't know how you feel about like the people aspect of the travel stuff because you are high play, but it sounds like the SE is the king or queen over that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like, I definitely like weird people as well, but I don't know, it's hard for me to like connect with people when it's like just like a sterile, like, you know, dry surface level small talk. Like I hate small talk so much. I'd rather just like go in and just like be weird, you know,
Yeah.
together. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So Candice, I have last two questions for you and we'll wrap up the interview. Okay. So the first one, this is like a question I'm really curious about. Like I'm like someone from a lead and intuition and your lead SE. So I'm really curious. You're a doer. So how do you just do things? Like my N, even though I'm lead blast, I can still get things done. Not as good as like someone that has lead S, but better than ENFPs at least. Like, so, but I cannot, like, how do you know what to do? And then just do it. Like, how do you know?
I think that's the thing. I don't really know like what I'm gonna do until I do it. And that's why I just like, I'm like, I might as well try it out. And so I'll tinker with things. And then that's kind of how I learn on the fly, I guess. Because like, it's really hard for me to just like, you know, just only learn conceptually and then try to translate that into the physical world. It's more like, no, I'm just gonna bang it out and see if it works, you know?
Okay, so can we use a concrete example? Let's talk about one of your businesses that you did before. Let's talk about the business that you sold. What kind of business was it?
Okay, so like, are you familiar with like BarkBox, Birchbox, like all those nature box, those monthly box subscriptions? Like when you subscribe, like you get sent a box every month kind of thing, like in the mail.
Yeah, I heard of like I saw it on YouTube. Like this one girl, she sends perfumes, and there's like different perfumes in the box.
Oh, yeah. So
those kind of things.
Yeah, subscription. Yeah. So basically, like I started one like when it was like just coming up, and mine was for Japanese candy and snacks, and we shipped like a mystery box in 3 different sizes, like all over the U.S. And yeah, like that one. Okay, the reason I started that, right, was because like my husband and I both had full-time jobs at the time, and like as soon as we would get home, we would just be binge watching Netflix, and I would be like, oh, like I feel so stupid. And so I thought, oh, what if we're like packing boxes while we're what? Okay, and at the time I remember we were watching The Walking Dead, and it was just getting like slower and slower, and like I don't know, I just felt so gross and stupid. So like I told him, hey, let's pack these boxes of candy while we're watching TV. So we're like being, you know, like productive while we're doing this. And so we thought, you know, oh yeah, we'll pack like, you know, a handful of boxes every month. But our first month, we got like 682 monthly subscribers. And then it just like grew from there. But yeah, that was the business that we started.
I love your comment. We're watching Walking Dead and we became stupid. I love it. No, it's true though, because you watch too much shows, you become a dumbass, right? So you might as well do something productive. But it's funny. Okay, so you it's kind of like the same story that Dave said with the ESFPs, where like things kind of just fell in your lap and then you ran with it. So it's like this was the accident what you did. Like you weren't planning a business, it just happened, right? So how did you know? I had a question for this. So how did you know to like? How did you do your marketing? How, like, I mean, you got all the subscribers all of a sudden, right? Like, but how did you know how to market it? How did you know how to package it the way that you did? Is it all like experimental? Like you just did the tester thing, or like how did you know? How did you figure it out?
Okay, so like the name of it doesn't exist anymore. We sold it, and then that company just kind of like internalized the systems aspect, and then the service doesn't exist anymore. But like even the name, it was called Scoshbox, and the reason I chose that name is because I wanted it to be something that like, you know, Americans were familiar with. Like, you know, some people use the word Scosh as slang, so they know what that means. And it was like it was intended to be like a small treat every month, Scosh, right? So that's why I call it Scoshbox. And then like the packaging, what I imagined was, okay, so I grew up in the US and Hawaii, like, and Japan. So I kind of knew like how to bridge the cultures, what Americans saw as cool within Japanese culture, and then just pulling that and turning it into this like really cool product. Because like at the end of the day, all the items that were inside are existing products. So our service is repackaging it. So that part is super important. So I don't know, just the whole experience of it. And I thought, okay, so if someone is receiving the box, it's like a mystery every month, but they need a little booklet to know like what ingredients are inside, like what is it, you know, like they can't read anything. So that's part of the experience. I don't know, like, I guess just kind of thinking about like the customer side. Does that answer your question? Sorry.
Well, first of all, the company you're talking about, I feel like my girlfriend might have ordered that candy box
Oh,
because she's a tester and she was telling me about this Japanese candy box before. So I don't know if there's other companies that do it or if it's just you guys. But
yeah, we were the first ones, and then we had a few competitors pop up after, so that it could have been them too.
Okay. My girlfriend ordered one of those before, so I'm like, so yeah. So okay. Okay, that's so interesting how so from what I gather from you, first you use your double decider power to see the perspective of the tribe, which is Japanese and American. That's your tribe, so you can see both. They're both your tribe, and then you kind of translated the in between so Americans can enjoy that side of the culture, and then you also took a little bit of your EP-ness and like the surprise, you know, like yeah, you know, and then you added that, and everyone loves surprises, you know. So you put that in, and then you had this cool business, and then you did your marketing and stuff. So okay, I see what you did now. I can see it now. But it sounds like you did a lot of like just doing it, and then if it doesn't work, you try something else, you know.
Yeah. And I think especially in that instance, like I wasn't afraid of failure because it was something I wanted in my spare time anyway, you know. So it was like, let's just do it.
Okay, so do you feel like because you're lead SE, like losing money to try this out is not a bad thing? Because you feel like you could learn something and you can make it better and you can make money later on? Is that something that you...
Wait, sorry, I missed the first part of your question.
So I noticed that people with extrovert sensing are not as afraid to lose money as people with SI. So you started a business and then you kind of just did it. Like just it was for fun, obviously, but you know, like when you put this together, you're gonna lose money because there's a forward investment that you need to put into it, right? So did you not have any fear that you're gonna lose some money because you love it, so you didn't care? Like, is there no fear behind that, or is it because you had a full-time job so you didn't care as much?
Yeah, I think there are like a number of reasons that I didn't really care. Is like, yeah, first of all, I had a full-time job, and then like second of all, my husband, like he is the controller, the finance person, so he kind of like took reins of that, and like I knew he wasn't gonna let us like lose tons of money. But like third, I don't know, I feel like money is just always gonna be a risk, right? In any situation or venture that you start. So like it's just part of the equation, I guess. And like even if I had lost a ton of money like doing it, well, it wouldn't have been a ton because it's really just like web posting and like a few boxes, snacks, like it's not too much. So I would have been like okay with that. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's worth it, I guess.
So how much is not too much? So if you lost $500 or $1,000, is that not a big loss for you? You're like, whatever.
Yeah, I think $500 to start a venture, like, yeah, not bad. Like, you know, oh well, lessons learned, like fun was had. I don't know.
Okay, so having SI, for me, this is super interesting to hear all this stuff. I'm like, wow, this is so cool to see like how an SE people think about this kind of stuff, you know, because I'm trying to learn from you guys. Like you guys know something that I don't. So, you know, like, all right, cool. All right, last question for you is, do you have any questions for me before we wrap up the interview? Anything about like functions or whatever, or anything else?
I can't like really think of anything on the spot. But it was super cool talking to you, and it was a lot of fun, and like I hope we can chat some more.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Thanks for coming out, Candice, and sharing more about your life and being the rare consume glass ESFP.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care.
Bye.